How do any of us play like one of the best Indian Grandmasters in the world? I think this guy has just invented a new chess opening. Introducing Praggnanandhaa, 17 years old, one of the best chess players in the world. In this video, I'm going to take you through 2 games. The amazing thing is, this guy sacks a pawn on move 3. His opponent is Levon Aronian. Both sides start with 15 minutes on the clock. Aronian has white, Pragg has black. And here we have it, the English opening. The 4 knights, if black now plays knight c6. The whole point of this video is to sack a pawn on move 3. e4. This move looks like a good move anyway. You're attacking the knight, destabilizing it. Where's it going to go? If it comes to the center, maybe this move. Take, take. Already, black is pretty fast with his development. Another option, which is the main option, and I can't believe this move is actually possible for black. This is known as an opening trap, or so I thought. Both knights attack the pawn. If you play a normal move like queen e7, then queen c2. And there's no good way to defend the pawn. It looks like black's just chucked the pawn. The funny thing is, Pragg does it a different way. After this move, he just gives it up with c6. Ready to go d5 to get the center for himself. Aronian takes the pawn, take, and now he hit the knight. It looks like, just by move 6, the guy's chucked a pawn. No, this is a new gambit. It's a new opening. I've never seen it before. Amazing. By move 6, we get a totally fresh position. The next game you play, why don't you try this setup yourself with black? Take. Where is this knight going to go? Can it go to c3, or then it'll get hit again? Aronian chose to go to g3, and now it gets hit with h5 already. Just flicking this h-pawn up to attack a piece, or just to get the h-pawn in the game. Just want to show you, if you go here, you hit the knight. And if you go here, you can hit the knight again. Go here. Let's say you defend, and now you have this amazing bishop in the center, all for the cost of a pawn. White can't get the bishop out normally in the English. You get hit with f5, winning the knight, winning the rook. You can't do this. Don't fall for this trap in your own games. What a cool way. When I saw this, I was thinking, well, why not just go f5 and then h5? Why not? This is what I was going for, and just checking with the engine, it's not even that bad. It's not even that bad. You can go e3, you can play a move like h4, you can defend first with knight c6 and h4, you can hit knight here, and it looks like black just doesn't know what they're doing. The pawn is too far advanced. Pawn up. Black has so much space. What a fresh position. I take this. I would take this position any day of the week. It's just so interesting to play. The guy went knight g3, and now you go h5. We're going to see 2 games, both featuring the same opening. That's what happens in these kind of matches. You play each other 4 times, 2 whites, 2 blacks. And these top players, they tend to repeat the same opening. You have to give the knight room. e3. It retreats. And now knight c6. So what's happened? Black's down a pawn, but this pawn is so aggressive. Black is very far ahead in development. The pieces are just going to come out really fast. Queen out. Knight c3. It looks like the knight has just come out 1 square, but we have just seen the knight has just got chased around. Queen g6. Really cool move. This knight attacks the center pawn, and Pragg sacks it. He's not even wasting time defending it. Queen g6. It's more important to stop your opponent moving. The blue arrow shows that the knight is coming into c2. So that's why Aronian plays a3. Not only that, the green arrow means the bishop cannot come out. a3 played. Bishop d6, not even wasting time. Not even wasting any time. That's the amazing thing. I think if you take it, you go h3. Brilliant. It's this idea where the knight and the rook are under attack. That's it. Game over. What an opening trap. Imagine if you got the chance to set this trap in your own games. Turns out the center pawn, which looks like you have to defend it, you don't. You don't, because of this amazing tactic. The H pawn has set up this opening trap. I've never ever seen this before. Let's go back 2 moves. So that's why Pragg just gets the bishop out. Bishop out, same thing. You don't do this because h3. And then it's actually the bishop which will hit both the knight and the rook. Let's go back a couple moves. Bishop out, rook c1. At the moment, Aronian can't even get this bishop out. This is an amazing gambit. Please try this in your next game. Castle, same thing. Can't go here, it's this same move. Okay, Aronian needs to do something. Get the queen out, maybe get the bishop out, castle, and then white will be winning. White's up a pawn. Hit the queen. Take. Rook d8. So, Pragg is now down 2 pawns, but knight out, 2 bishops, queen, you've castle, rook in the centre. The king is still in the centre, facing. Gonna get faced with the rook. h3, hit the bishop. Now bishop g3. What is this move? Well, I mean, that's why you put the rook there. Bishop g3. Now things are just so complicated. The queen has to move. Queen e4. Bishop f5, hit the queen again. And now rook e8, not even taking. That's the amazing thing. What a move. All for the cost of a pawn. Every single piece is in the game. Amazing. Bishop e2, you can't take. Now you just come through the centre, knight d4. It's just too dangerous. Practically speaking, this looks awful. By the way, I just want to show you some awful line. If you play this, looks like the queen is totally trapped. The knight goes to b3. Looks like we're going to win something. Here, you might even go bishop c2. Something like this. And white can hardly move. Now, did I play the best move with the queen? No. If we just go back a couple moves, in this moment, the queen can come out to f4. That's much better. And then the knight comes to b3, hitting both. Too much pressure. So what happens now? Well, let's see. If you defend, now you've got this brilliant move. Rook d4. What? If the queen goes back, we're going to take. And the queen has to go back. Or here, or here. The guy can hardly move. Crazy. Absolutely crazy variation. Here. Oh, sorry. If rook here, the queen has to go here. And it's, what a mess. What a mess. Not even sure what's happening. Let's go back to the game. Aronian didn't take. It's just too risky. Bishop e2. Now bishop back to b8. Ready to castle. It's just one move away. Queen h5, offering a queen trade. Once the queens come off, it's very unlikely that Pragg will win. Just wondering, why not castle? Queen here, switch. 1, 2. And it's really cool, you can't block because that pawn, your h pawn, is so useful. All for the cost of a pawn. Please try this in your own games. So bishop here, queen trade offered, take, take. Now once this trade happens, Pragg is going to use the pin on the e-file. We get the centre pawn. Pragg has got a pawn back, and I still take black here because the pieces are just too active. White is one move away from sorting out the problems. You can't do this at the moment because you lose. You lose a piece. So what does Aronian do? Bishop back to d1 because that was a threat, winning a piece. Drop the bishop back. And now bishop d3, just in time, stopping white's castling. Knight e2. One move away from castling. It looks like white's getting out, but can you see? Overall, in my opinion, Aronian's moves have been so defensive. I mean, who would you rather have in this kind of position? White or black? I'll take black any day of the week. Down a pawn, down 2 pawns, but all your moves are so active. Practically speaking, it is so easy for white to make a mistake. Aronian has played so many difficult defensive moves. Knight retreat, take, take. Knight b3. The knight still comes to that square, and things come off. Take, take. Now bishop right in the centre. The fact that he's down a pawn, it doesn't matter. This bishop is so strong. Black is in the game. a4. b6. Now you might be thinking, if you look at the green arrow, what happens if the rooks come off and then the bishop takes the pawn? That's the blue arrow. Well, let's check that out. Take, take. Now if the bishop takes the pawn, Aronian can just go rook b1 and then get the pawn back. Something like this. Oh, let's go back to the game. Here, take, take. Oh, this moment. Take, take, take. Now rook b1. You're going to get your pawn back. And then white can keep playing this. It's actually very difficult to hold on to this. Because you've always got this problem to worry about. So no, that's why Pragg didn't grab that pawn, just went b6. Bishop b5, the rooks now come off. Take, take. Check, check, back. 4 against 3, but opposite bishops is too likely to be a draw. Very active move from Pragg, hitting both. Hit the bishop, it drops back. Bishop c6 just in time to defend. The blue arrow shows this bishop no longer attacks the pawn. But the bishop sits very well there. The rook is very active. These pawns are not advancing to great effect. Looks like it's going to fizzle out. And that's why I wanted to show you this first game. A brilliant pawn sacrifice. And it fizzles out to a draw. Why is it a draw? Opposite bishops. This pawn is going to drop. Game agreed to a draw. Something like this. Or maybe more accurate, put the bishop here. Here, take, check, draw. Now, the next game. 2 blacks, 2 whites. So I'm just going to show you the black games from Pragg. We have the same opening. So what's going to be different? Well, we have the same few moves. Try this in your next game. What a pawn sack. Take, take. Knight here and then h5. Here we go again. Aronian repeats. Only move, you got to play e3, so then the knight retreats. Get the knight out. Get the queen out, just like we saw in the first game. Get the bishop out. And this, I think, is the first new move. Bishop d2. Okay, same moves by Pragg. Rook c1. Aronian actually gets the rook in the game first. Looks like he's developed the queen side. The knight, bishop, rook. This needs to come out. Castle. Soon. Okay, rook d8. Queen g6. Same moves. Can't do this because we have this awesome opening trap. Amazing trap. So, still, how do you defend this? You play rook here, X-ray defense, because it's not actually a threat. Queen out, so very similar. Pragg now flicks in h3, hits the queen, so it's very different now, and now castles. There's this really cool moment actually. Why not bishop g3? Hitting the queen, and then winning a pawn. It's because of queen e4, check. Take, take, and then you hit both. The bishop moves, and then I think white is good here. Rook here, something like this. Bishop g4, you hit the queen. Castle. So just like in the first game, Pragg is not just willing to sack 1 pawn, he's willing to sack 2 pawns for the initiative. Queen b5, queen out the way. One option was to offer a trade, but then we have this situation, the game goes on. Aronian went the other way. Hit the pawn, but really get the queen out of the way, get the bishop out, castle. Get the bishop out here, that was an awful arrow. Rook e8, same moves. I mean, it's basically the same moves in the first game. Pawn is here, that pawn is off the board. Yeah, same moves, bishop here. And then the same kind of sacrifice like we saw. Bishop e2, really cool moment here. Knight takes d4, what a move. What a move. You can't take because you take with the knight here. And now you defend it. Queen e4. You play f3. Wow, what a move. You can actually play f3 and then here. And you just keep going. Hitting this. And this. Wow, what a line. What a line. Didn't expect that. I just thought it was quite funny in this moment. If we go back a few moves, we can all blunder mate in 1. Don't fall for this in your own games. Queen e4, hit the rook. You might think you're clever, you castle, but then mate all of a sudden, thanks to the h-pawn. We can all blunder in 1 move. Let's go back a few moves. Bishop e2. Pragg sacks in the center. Take. Rook takes. What is happening here? Take. Now what? Queen e4. Hit the rook. Once again, we can't castle. Hit the queen. Hit the knight, I mean, but there's a queen there. So you're not really hitting it. The king can't really move. The rook can't move. Well, it has to, probably. Except he doesn't. That's the amazing thing. Aronian doesn't even move the rook. Incredible. Hits this. So if you take with check, you actually go here. And then now, rook hits the queen. Bishop hits the rook. Something like this. Take, take, take. The game goes on. White is winning. What a mess. Throw in a check. Throw in this check. Why? Because if you block, I think you can bring the queen back. Something like this. What a complex fight. Let's go back a few moves. So bishop g5, and I'm just thinking, why not move the rook? It's because if you move the rook, this rook is doing nothing. Let's say you go here. a6. Hit the queen. This is the funny thing. There's no good way to defend it. If you go here, you hit it again. And if the queen ever moves, checkmate in one move. That's the amazing thing. Pragg saw this idea, where the white queen has to defend the knight, or else it's mate. That's why he's willing to sack a rook. The king has been in the center the whole game, just like in the previous game. Game over. You can play a move like f3 to block, but nothing changes. You take. The threat is still there. The queen moves it away, mate here. So if you take, well, you lose your queen. Let's go back a few moves, back to the game. So Aronian saw all this. There's no time to just... There's no time to waste. You can't move your rook. Bishop hits the rook. Rook e8. Keep the pressure. Drop the bishop back. That's how dangerous it is. This pressure is too much. You're willing to give up the rook. And the amazing thing is, Pragg doesn't take it just yet. He understands the threat on e2 can be too much. He actually kicks the queen away. Kicks the queen away again. And then, in this moment, takes the rook. But it's not actually the best move. You might be thinking, what on earth is happening in this game? How can not taking the rook with check not be the best move? This is such a computer line. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't blame Pragg for not seeing this. You have to play a move like queen f3. Then it's mate. I don't blame Pragg for not playing this at all, because you take. You take the pawn. You've just lost both your pawns, and you're now defending the knight. But what's the absolutely brilliant move here? Now's your chance. Pause the video now. There's a 5-second timer. Can you see how black continues? If you can, congrats. I can't see it. I didn't see it when I was analysing this variation. No wonder Pragg didn't go for it. 5 seconds. The amazing thing, the amazing move is rook takes bishop. Why? I don't know. Why? Rook takes bishop. Take. I mean, so what? So what? Take with check now. Okay, well, why give up the bishop in the first place? When the king moves, you take this. And this is the idea. That pawn is going to run. Let me explain the arrows. Too many to explain, so I will go with this one first. Let's make it red. So, the bishop needs to... The queen, the white queen, needs to defend the knight, because the queen and bishop attack it. The queen can actually sidestep, so then you can march the h-pawn. This rook is actually useless, which I can't believe, because the bishop keeps an eye on that square. This h-pawn is more powerful than this rook. That's the amazing thing about this line. Let's say we continue a little bit, because I was wondering why not play an active move. Let's say hit the bishop, keep an eye on the knight. You ignore it. That's the amazing thing. You ignore it. This is coming home. There's no time to take, because take. Let's have a look at this. Here, we're going to take with check. Check. Let's have a look. Here. Ah, the rook is hanging. Oh my gosh. If here, probably drop the bishop back. Right. Check. We are running out of squares. If king back, let's go here. Check. Here. Can't go here because you lose the rook. If here, then. Sorry, I meant here. Check. check. Okay. Hang on, why didn't I go for this before? Here. Just trying to understand. Why didn't I take the rook before? Yeah. Ah, okay. Check. The king has... If the king goes back, that's mate all of a sudden. Wow. What a long variation. If Pragg saw that, then that's probably the combination so far in the Crypto Cup. Now, Pragg is a human being. He took a rook with check, like everyone would. King moves out of the way. Now, queen back to f3. Why don't you take now a check? Oh, because the queen hits the rook. I see. Now I get it. Check. Take a rook with check. Hit the knight. Why not this? Rook b8. Coming in. I see. So let's say move and then take. Check. I see. We are coming in. The only good move is to block with a rook. Take with check. And then black's going to be winning. Take. Black is a bishop up. Should be good. Rook e1 to defend the knight. Queen back. Queen e6. So Pragg is not seeing a way through. Brings the queen back like a normal person. Hits the queen. b4, hit the knight, so there's no time to take the queen because that is check. Then you get it back. So b4, good move. Take. Keep the queens on. Turns out Pragg is actually down so many pawns now. He's down 3 pawns. Scattered. The king is still in the middle. Anything can still happen. I know the engine says +3. White is totally winning, but let's see what happens. Bishop here. Hit the queen. Drop the bishop back. Allowing the pawns through. It's too dangerous. Aronian's doing well now. Things have changed. Everything is holding. In the white position, that bishop really holds everything. The king is quite safe in the middle. Bishop c5, offering a trade. Rook back to e1. Take. Now you take with a pawn. So if there's a check, Aronian wants to defend along the second rank. So that's why he moved there. Bishop a6. Now queen c2. Blunder from Aronian because he just let go of the pawn. Amazing. However, the point of bishop a6 is queen f2 is check. So I'm just checking out. Why not this? Maybe he was expecting this, and then the queen actually defends the pawn. I see. But in time trouble. Or maybe it's just a blunder. Queen retreats. What's another option? Move the king out the way, which looks really difficult, this move, because you're just putting the rook in front of the king. But white does have a pawn defending the knight. Get the king out of the way. So what's happening here? Queen f2, hit the pawn, and the rook. Maybe you just go here. Check. Maybe king b1. Rook d2. Oh my gosh. Check. Queen back. Yikes. Wow, that's tough, mate. That's tough. And then what? This is a suitable distraction. So is that. White is winning. Back to the game. Queen c2 played. Pragg is back in the game. Queen takes pawn. Now Aronian gets the king out of the way. So maybe he mixed up the move order. Bishop in. Controlling so many light squares. It's not pleasant to play. Rook d1. Blunder. Now this move looks like a blunder because you just lose the rook. But what is the idea? This is perhaps what Aronian missed. Queen needs to come to f5. Perhaps this is what he wanted, but it doesn't work. You take this, white takes the rook. No. Black can now play queen check first. So what happens if king b1? Well, let's check out. If you block with the rook, game over. It's actually check on the back. And if rook here, you take. That's the amazing thing. You use the pin on the c file. What a cool mate. If we go back a couple moves, here, king b1, both are under attack. So you just It's like a decoy sacrifice, really. You give up the rook for the knight, and then the other guy's rook is still under attack. Rook takes. Knight. And then it drops. You can throw in a check, you can check. King actually escapes. All the squares are covered. What a line. So let's go back to the game. In this moment, bishop b3. Aronian changed his mind. Queen f2. Now queen a5. He doesn't even take the rook, because this bishop is so strong. If you take the rook, king takes. Still a lot of work to do. Pragg sees that. You're going to go queen a1 check, queen b2 check. The bishop, queen, and a rook swarm the white king. King d2. And he sees it. King d2. Pause the video now, or let the 5-second timer run. How did black finish it off? Rook takes knight. Game over. Aronian resigned, because after take, queen takes pawn check, you pick up the rook. Game over. The king can run this way, but then you are just down the bishop. And if you want to end the game sooner, you can go to e1, and then the queen takes. Rook is mate. What a finish. I hope you guys have been inspired by this line. This is how to play like one of the top juniors in the world. Please do this in your own game. Sack a pawn on move 3. In this way. c6. Take, take, take. Hit the knight. Hit the knight again. Hit the knight again. Get your pieces out. Get the queen out. Get the bishop out. Bishop f5. And then with this, set up this tactic. The guy can never take because you just throw the h pawn. And then you win the knight. This was one brilliant trap, which I discovered having looked at Pragg's games. Let me know in the comments below if you use this gambit in your own games.